Now, thousands of domestic abuse victims are being failed by police forces across England and Wales because of the way cases are being investigated. A highly critical report by Her Majesty's Inspectorate of Constabulary has accused the police of alarming and unacceptable weaknesses, with 4 forces singled out for particular criticism. Our senior correspondent Ian Woods reports.
Calling the police to report an ex-boyfriend had broken into her flat and attacked her ought to have brought peace of mind. Instead, this woman faced a second ordeal.
The response I had from them, from the first officer onwards, was appalling. He showed total disinterest. You know, they're supposed to be impartial, unbiased, and he almost had it in for me. I said to him, I don't know why you're treating me like this. You haven't taken a statement from me. You haven't looked around. And I had marks on my arm where I'd been assaulted. And he walked out of my flat and slammed my door shut. That is how insensitive his approach was.
She's one of the women who gave evidence for a damning report into police attitudes to domestic violence that the Home Secretary calls disturbing.
It shows significant failings of visible police leadership. It shows a lack of right attitude for victims, and it also shows, sadly, the police even failing to gather evidence of the crimes that were being committed. So we need to see a change in police culture, and that has to start from the top.
The report found that in the year to last March there were more than 1 million calls to the police asking for help with domestic abuse. That's 1 call every 30 seconds. It amounts to 8% of all reported crimes. 77 women were killed by their partners or ex-partners during that period.
You wearing that? You don't want to look cheap, do you?
This Home Office advert emphasised it's not just physical assault which constitutes abuse, and it's not just women who are victims, though 96% of those deemed to be at serious risk of violence are female.
Forces are going to have to take action, and we're going to monitor the action that they take. Chief constables are going to have to take personal responsibility for looking at their own organisation and make sure that it's geared in everything that it does to make tackling domestic abuse everyone's business, not somebody else's problem.
Sweetheart.
Keira Knightley may have simply been playing another role when she starred in this harrowing advert for Women's Aid, but for hundreds of thousands of people this is reality, not fiction. Now police officers who deal with it will be told it's not a second-class crime unworthy of their time. Ian Woods, Sky News.
Let's go live to Preston and talk to Rachel Horman, who's a lawyer who deals with domestic abuse allegations. Very good afternoon to you. Shocking details in this report. 2 women killed in this country every week by domestic abuse. This isn't a new fact, though. What's your experience of how police officers deal with allegations?
There is some good practice, and in Lancashire, where I'm based, we do see that on occasion, but quite often. Unfortunately, victims are met with police failings, by bad attitudes by the police, a culture of not believing victims, being unsympathetic, and putting the onus onto the victim as to whether they want to prosecute, rather than taking it out of the victim's hands, gathering the evidence properly and prosecuting in any event.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think so many police officers fail to take these allegations seriously?
I think there's a culture problem within the police, and that was highlighted within the report. I think there's a lack of quality training within the police force, which was again highlighted in the report. But to me the report was far too narrow. It didn't address the problems within the CPS, the judiciary, social services, housing. Lots of other agencies also let down victims of domestic abuse, and whilst it was also highlighted that emotional abuse is a big problem, there isn't currently any criminal offence of domestic violence to enable the police to deal with that. So there does need to be a new criminal offence of domestic violence, in my view, which will enable the police, with the proper training, to then take action before it becomes physical.
Now, of course, while this report highlights the failures of the police force, you say there's many other agencies that need looking at as well. We need to look at the fact that many women don't actually want to prosecute their violent partners, do they, for lots of different reasons, and that's an issue in itself.
It is, but in my experience, if the victims are given a quality service by the police and the other agencies that come into contact with them, then they are far more likely to want to proceed with a case against their partner. If you are met with a police officer that is almost discouraging you from prosecuting, that is telling you the worst case scenario about the trial straight away, then it's hardly surprising that women don't want to prosecute. But where women do have high quality support and specialist domestic violence courts, then statistically they're far more likely to go through with it.
As a lawyer who deals frequently with victims of domestic violence, what's your advice to anyone watching out there who's in this situation, who wants to get help?
Well, please contact the police. I think that this report will start to create a far more positive response from the police. There are also lots of other agencies out there that can help victims of domestic violence and stalking, such as Women's Aid and Paladin, and they can help victims to decide whether or not they want to take matters further.
Rachel Horman, thank you very much for joining us live here on Sky News. Thank you.
Thank you.